Yeah, we're back. We're back. We're back. And this time we're back with Uefa Europa Conference League action. Yes, Aston Villa may have lost the game, but from an individual perspective, Ollie Watkins actually achieved something remarkable. Because Ollie Watkins, scored his 27th goal of the season in all competitions, right? Even though Aston Villa unfortunately lost at home to Olympiyacos, the Greek giants, right? And the Aston Villa captain, John McGinn, he faced up to a chaotic Europa Conference League semi-final first leg, and what can I say, man? I guess he was right to say that, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for Aston Villa. Losing 4-2 at home to Olympiacos, it is something that I did not expect. I did not fancy. I did not see coming, but it actually happened, And I guess Olympiacos have been playing in European football for many seasons currently. So, of course, it was going to be a daunting task for Aston Villa, As we know, we saw Ayoub El-Kabi. He scored a hat-trick for the visitors, netting twice early on, you understand? Which for me came as a shocker, to say the least, man. I was very surprised by the turnout of events at this particular encounter at the Villa Park. However, at least Ollie Watkins, he reduced the deficit for Unai Emery's side, and then Moussa Diaby equalized moments after the interval. However, what we actually saw is that Olympiacos, they put up a stunning display as they rode back in front with an El-Kabi penalty and a deflected strike from Santiago Heze, and then Douglas Luiz missed a late penalty, meaning that Aston Villa, must overturn a 2-goal deficit in the second leg in Paris. What? In Paris. Piras. Piras, right? That is basically a place in Greece, on the 9th of May to actually reach their first European final since 1982. Aston Villa made a lot of mistakes all round. And they should take full responsibility for that, And the Premier League outfit really have got a serious mountain to climb, However, I do sincerely believe that they are capable of overturning the deficit. And I can sense there is a bit of, positivity from the Villa Park faithful. And there's still a long way to go for them, though. El-Kabi began the goal flurry with a clinical finish. It was initially disallowed for an offside, but it was later to be overturned after a check by the video assistant referee. And then the Morocco striker added a classy second when he lashed onto a Daniel, Podence's clever pass over the top and slipped the ball under, Robert Olsen. And from that particular moment in time, it was all Olympiacos. Yes, Watkins then pulled the goal back for Aston Villa in added time, in the first half with an angled finish from just outside the 6-yard box. And then Diaby then leveled as, Konstantinos, Zolakis was beaten at his near post. And then, to say the least, Aston Villa seemed to have actually had the momentum, at that point. But they were sucker punched by their visitors. Douglas Luiz handled the ball as Panacotius, red sauce header, and then El-Kabi coolly sent Olsen the wrong way from the resulting spot kick to take his tally to 8 goals in the competition. There was actually more than an element of fortune to Olympiacos' 4th goal, as Heze's speculative effort, flicked off, the back of Ezri Konza to actually wrong foot Olsen, and then Douglas Luiz had a late opportunity to actually attune for his error, and then, David Carmo fell John Duran, but to incredulity of the home fans, he failed to hit the target. Fucking hell. Look, let's just wrap it up. Now we're going to cross straight to Italy, right? For the second semi-final of the UEFA Europa Conference League. So look, it was between last season's finalist, Fiorentina. They took on Club Brugge, Belgian giants. Look, to say the least, how I choose to view this one is the fact that, look, both managers made some changes, right? That's an obvious, we know that. Vincenzo Italiano dropped Nikola Milenkovic from defense, and then he decided to experiment with a pairing of Giacomo Bonaventura and Artur in the midfield. And then he stuck with Ricardo, Sotel after the winger's remarkable performance against Sassuolo. And then Richie Hayen, brought in Dennis Odoi as well as Ferran Jakla, sparking speculation that he might actually be using a back three. But based on my own clarification, based on my observation and analysis, it was clearly a 4-2-3-1 formation, right? And yeah, the fans, are offered different perspectives too. The Club Brugge, traveling contingent produced some of the coordinated Nazi salutes ahead of the kickoff. And that's exactly what we saw, right? And what we also saw, the home support on the other hand, produced an electric atmosphere, as the rain came pouring down, right? First off, let's look at the first 45 minutes of the particular game, of this particular encounter. After Club Brugge, applied a bit of pressure early on. They were the ones that asserted the dominance. I'm talking about the Belgians. However, after that short spell, right, Fiorentina actually fought back and they actually took the lead through the head, the man of the moment, the man who's clearly on form. We talking about Ricardo Sotel, who struck an absolutely magnificent curler. Nearly like a carbon copy of his strike against Sassuolo on Sunday. And this time, though his dad was in the stands to actually celebrate, and that was the best way to actually start a semi-final. Having your dad even in the stands watching you score, that kind of a screamer is also another memorable occasion for you, right? And then 10 minutes later, Luca Ranieri cleared the ball from his own end line, and the rest of the defense, from Fiorentina had completely switched off, failing to track, Igor Thiago, who was obviously onside, because Ranieri was so far back, and then the Brazilian lashed onto the ball. And then we saw Pietro, Tariasciano, who saved the initial effort but parried it straight back out, and about 4 defenders converged on Igor Thiago before the clearance ricocheted and struck, Cristiano, Biragi's arm. And then the referee, Michael Oliver, eventually went to the monitor to check and gave the penalty. But it's unclear what Biragi was supposed to do because his arm was extended, right? Sure, but it was in a natural position and the ball took a deflection before hitting him. But that doesn't actually matter to a ref, with a Biden in a place of heart, right? And then it was like actually Cristiano Biragi was actually adjudged to have actually handled the ball, and then a penalty was given. And then from the resulting spot kick, Hans Van Aken actually scored from the resulting spot kick to actually level the matters, for the Belgians, as it was actually 1-1 between Fiorentina and Club Brugge. Following that, equalizer from Club Brugge, Fiorentina remained in the driver's seat, with Nico missing another decent chance, and the Viola kept on pressing. They kept on pressing, and finally they retook the lead, albeit in somewhat chaotic fashion. Dodo raided forward. He had his cross blocked, tracked down the rebound, and then found Bonaventura, who blasted one that Nordin Jackers could only parry straight back out. Dodo, he tracked down the half-cleared ball and steered it to Gonzalez, whose acrobatic scissor kick barely made contact, but it had enough to actually reach Andrea Bellotti, who actually pivoted and riffled it home with his left into the bottom corner for just his second Viola goal. Remember, Andrea Bellotti is at Fiorentina on loan from, AS Roma, right? Who are also competing in the Uefa Europa League semi-finals. And they actually go into the second leg against Bayer Leverkusen with the 2-0 deficit, trailing at 2-0. So back to the game between the Viola and Club Brugge. With the lead being restored, the host kept on pushing once again. They kept on pressing high up and actually causing Club Brugge's defense no end of headaches, as they kept the game strictly in the visitors' end. While the strikes from, Sotel as well as Bellotti will grab the headlines, it was actually Fiorentina's work out of possession that I was actually solidly very impressed by their work out of possession. It cut off every avenue forward, and they fully deserved the lead as they took it into the break, right? Into the 15-minute break. And look, with the score at 2-1, right, going into the halftime break, we look at the second 45 minutes. The Viola, they maintain their ascendancy, keeping the Belgians pinned down and showcasing some magnificent out-of-possession work to actually keep the pressure on. And they really allowed, Blau Swat out of their own half. Belotti actually came close with a header off a Biragi free kick. But the main story was Bon Meyer running off Sotel from behind, knocking out the winger with a shoulder injury. And that physical play continued as Rafael Onyedika picked up 2 yellow cards in 3 minutes, earning his marching orders and giving the hosts a chance to actually put the game out of reach. Naturally, they immediately conceded, surprisingly. And guess who it was? The Brazilian, Igor Thiago. He has been a menace for them all night long. He was a menace for them, and it was about to happen. It was bound to happen that he was going to find the back of the net. I'm talking about Igor Thiago, the Brazilian. It was bound to happen. And the wind was clearly out of Fiorentina's sails. And introducing Jonathan Ikone for Beltran and Maxim Lopez for Artur didn't actually change much. Eventually, the team got its gear back. They got their gear back in shape, and they actually began to push forward. With Ikone coming close with the curler, while, Belotti and Nico missed pretty clear-cut headers that you would actually expect them to put into the back of the net and actually find a target. But they didn't do so. That meant that, the man we all expected to score the winner had to step up, which was Mbala Nzola. In his first game back, showed fantastic hunger to actually stick with the loose ball and chase down his own rebound after hitting the post before firing it into the net. And, that was an incredible moment. That was an incredible moment for the embattled striker. And the Viola pulled forward in pursuit of the second, but couldn't get it. And the game ended up, as 3-2, setting up a tense away leg in Belgium, right? So it was actually an incredible game of football, to actually say the least. But, clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities for both sides, especially for Fiorentina. I think Fiorentina should have made use of those clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities that they had created. I mean, think about it. Fiorentina had 31 shots at goal. Only 10 of those shots were on target. So that tells you the story of this particular game. The fact that I think, yes, they managed to get the victory, but they should have capitalized on that one-man advantage, that numerical advantage. They should have really capitalized on it and actually put the game beyond any reasonable doubt. Even put the tie beyond bed. Yes, what's actually next is the fact that Fiorentina, they return to league play with a trip to Hellas Verona on Sunday. Despite sitting in 15th place, the Mastini are just 2 points clear of the job. So the Dumitru effect certainly applies there, as the Viola chase an optimistic 8th place, which would guarantee them another Conference League berth. And these last 3 Serie A matches are set up to be shockingly tense. The away leg, of course, is what they should be thinking about and putting all their focus into, right? And it's next Thursday in Bruges. So, Fiorentina, the Italians, they really need to focus and really shift their gears to that one. Because if Fiorentina can hang on to the lead and, looking at their particular performance in the first leg, it should not actually leave any Fiorentina fan, in huge confidence of the outcome, because the team will need to get to Athens for the final on the 29th of May. Just 3 days after the Serie A curtain rings down at, Cagliari. The end of the year is certainly, setting up for a maximum drama and, of course, maximum heartbreak. So, hey, it's going to be very tough. Hopefully Fiorentina can actually capitalize on this one-man advantage. On the one-goal advantage and actually add on to it again, going into the second leg.